Happy Friday to all our friends at Florida State and beyond. Welcome to our November 9th edition of FSU Weather. I'm meteorologist Jay Karstens.
And I'm student meteorologist Michael Onnen.
And well, today, we saw brighter days are ahead for us, but to get to that point, we had to get through a little bit of what we'll call gloomy weather. That's one of your catchphrases, of course.
Yeah, warm, humid, rainy. It didn't feel like fall out there at all.
Our fifth consecutive day actually getting to the 80-degree point, which isn't really that much above average for us even for this time of year, but still notably much warmer and more humid than what we are really accustomed to seeing this time of year. But that is going to change in a big way starting tonight.
Yeah, we're going to get that major cold front moving through, finally clearing out, drying out the air, making it feel more crisp outside.
Of course, going to be really looking forward to that. We're going to be seeing those temperatures starting to drop tonight, those clearing skies as well being a big story, setting up for, again, just a fantastic weekend ahead. We'll have more for you on what to expect beyond that, the early portions of next week and even onto the next 10 days or so. But for now, we're going to send things out to Dylan at the wall with a bit of an overview of what to expect for tonight's show.
Yeah, guys, you said it was disgusting outside. I'd describe it as gross because 71 degrees, cloudy, rainy. Oh, it's just absolutely disgusting right now at 6:01. But the things are going to change. We see some clouds and rain move through our area early around 4:30, 5 o'clock. There were some strong storms. Honestly, I was studying, had some noise-canceling headphones on, and I heard the thunder, and I was like, all right, guess I'm going to stop studying because I got to look outside at this rain. But there are some clearer skies behind this initial blanket of rain. And as we zoom out, you do see where those clear skies are over into Memphis and Tennessee and Arkansas. That's where the clear conditions are, and this frontal boundary is going to move its way eastward, clear things out, and it's going to honestly weaken as it moves eastward. So you're not going to see these stronger storms behind the front really stay together as we get into tonight as well. And as Annie would say, the sun will come out tomorrow because we got cool, nice conditions on Saturday. 62 degrees, absolutely gorgeous. You're going to need a jacket though. 62 degrees ain't that warm. It's going to be cool though. Warming up just a bit on Sunday, 67 degrees. And then Monday, got to break out that rain jacket, but that's not 82 degrees. That's only 72 degrees, so it's not going to be as gross as we saw today. Coming up later in the show, we're going to talk about the cool, dry weekend. We're going to have more events for you. Early rain coming in next week. You saw a preview of that on Monday. And then a blast of chilly air after that. Hey, you're really going to need your cold jackets for then. But now let's send it over back to the desk where they're going to pick this week's metro area.
Thanks, Dylan. I was thinking more along the lines of here comes the sun, do. But alas, it is that time of the show where we pick our city of the week. I'm going to have Michael do the honors this time, considering I picked last week and I'm therefore ineligible by the unwritten rules of FSU weather.
Yeah, and Dylan's actually going to do Detroit later in the show, but for next week's metro region, let's see what it is.
A city that is not Chicago, I'm sure.
It is Salt Lake City, so
right.
out in Utah.
Yeah, we're heading back out west. Always fun when you have the Intermountain West region. Some interesting weather that can happen in those regions. So we'll break that down for you next week. Again, Dylan's going to have that Detroit forecast for you later on tonight. But for now, Michael is actually, you're going to take it out to the wall.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at our almanac for today. And as Jake mentioned just earlier, it was 82 degrees outside as a high today. A little bit above average, but it didn't feel like fall out there. It felt very humid. It felt very wet and very muggy out there. And in terms of rainfall, we did get a storm move through earlier, actually tighter normal for today. But we are well above average for the month and also for the year. So no drought concerns here in North Florida. Current conditions, as Dylan was mentioning, it's 71 degrees, very cloudy outside. It doesn't feel very nice outside and it feels very muggy outside. Now, current conditions on the rest of the region, you can see 70s mainly everywhere, 68 in Blakely with the thunderstorm in their region, and then partly cloudy skies in Quincy at 70 degrees and clear skies in Bainbridge at 72 degrees. Dew points were still ahead of that front. Yes, you can see parts of that lower dew point that's up towards southeast Alabama. Don't worry, that the dew points are going to drop by the time we get into the overnight hours and going into Saturday morning. It's going to feel much like fall and feel much more fresher and crisper outside. So these dew points will drop into the 50s and 40s. Now, the winds, you can see we are getting a lot of moisture still from the Gulf. We're still ahead of that cold front, but these winds are going to shift. You can see them starting to shift already in Mariana at 4 miles per hour, become more of a northwesterly flow, bringing that dry air from the northern U.S. and from Canada. That line radar shows you that rain due to the cold front. We had some intense lightning down towards the Leon-McCulloch County border as well as the Georgia-Florida state line. We still have some showers behind that because the main cold front is still north and west of us. But once this drier air starts to filter in overnight tonight, skies will start to clear and temperatures are going to be much cooler compared to what they were this week. You can start to see the storms, how they move through a region, and then they'll really be gone by the time we pass the midnight hour. So when you wake up Saturday morning, expect partly cloudy skies, but they're going to clear very quickly into sunny skies by the time we get to the lunchtime hour and for the rest of the afternoon hour. So very good for the plants. And if you want to head out to the North Florida Fair tomorrow, which started yesterday. Tonight's forecast, 53 degrees here in Tallahassee with some showers and thunderstorms early. Expect them mainly before midnight. And then you can notice how the cooler air starts to filter in with 47 in Colquitt compared to 56 in Perry, where they still don't get to feel that cooler air just yet. But that cooler air will start to filter in to the rest of our region going into tomorrow. If you want to head out to the Gulf for some boating, it's going to be a little bit choppy because of the northerly wind. 61 degrees will be your temperature with mostly sunny skies. North Florida Fair forecast shows you temperatures warming gradually up to 60 degrees and then cooling very quickly once the sun sets. Going into your 7-day forecast, it shows you rain does return on Monday and Tuesday as a Gulf low develops, and that's going to bring some really cold air behind it with 53 on Wednesday as a high.
All right, thank you, Michael. We're going to break down more of that Monday, Tuesday rain threat for you at the desk coming up. But for now, we're going to talk about a little more detail of the southeast, which is a really perfect segue from what we saw in our local forecast, because this is showing you what is already happening in other regions of the southeast. It's starting to move their way into Tallahassee. This cooler air already starting to settle in areas of Mississippi, Alabama, up towards Tennessee, where some 40s are starting to become apparent just after the sun has gone down in many of these spots. With Jackson sitting at 48 degrees, a bit more sunlight and warmth out in the western regions, although we're still not really getting above the 55-degree point in many of these areas over here. Florida, of course, being the oddball. With that warmth and humidity sticking around, dew points still in the 70s in Tallahassee as well as Jacksonville at 71 degrees, down towards Tampa and South Florida as well. But much drier air also coming in behind this cold front. So we're starting to see these dew points down in the 50s in Montgomery as well as New Orleans and up towards Atlanta, and even drier air starting to move in both the lower and upper levels behind that. So it's going to start to be a much more pleasant night for many of these areas, and that's, again, what we're going to be starting to see tomorrow as we go into the Tallahassee area for our Saturday afternoon. The winds also showing this frontal passage perfectly here with these strong northerly winds coming in behind the front here. We tend to see this pretty sharp contrast in pressure across the front as well, which is directly correlated with how fast these winds are. These values getting up towards 20 miles per hour in areas like New Orleans as well as Houston. Southerly winds out ahead of the front in parts of Florida and the peninsula like Orlando, and lighter winds off towards Jacksonville and those areas like that. So you really see it right in here, sandwiched in this area near the Florida Panhandle. Tallahassee being essentially right on the line right now as we see in that radar. Some light showers are still lingering on behind this front, but again, that's going to start to weaken as we go further on through the night for us. Still cannot rule out the possibility of some rain, as Michael was saying earlier, as we go towards, say, about midnight here in Tallahassee. And other regions are going to start to see this rain clearing out just a little bit sooner as, again, that drier air starts to work in out of the north and out of the west as well. So areas like Atlanta are going to start to see conditions really improving in the next couple of hours or so. As for the next 24 hours, you really start to see the march of this front in the overnight hours tonight. Still some clouds and potential showers lingering for us around Tallahassee overnight, but again, this starts to move off to the south into the Florida Peninsula. As we wake up on our Saturday morning, just Florida really is going to be seeing any kind of rainfall and cloud action, maybe extreme southeastern Georgia as well as parts of, say, Charleston over towards Hilton Head Island, South Carolina as well. Then again, as we get into tomorrow afternoon, just parts of Florida are going to be seeing some of that rainfall threat down from, say, Orlando, the I-4 corridor southwards by tomorrow evening. We have some cold air settling in again behind this front. Freeze warnings in parts of Tennessee as well as Mississippi. The northwest suburbs of Atlanta also included in this, as well as a freeze watch in these light blue shadings, indicating the possibility of temperatures getting down towards the 32-degree point. For tonight's forecast, again, that warmth just sticking around in Florida, very cold air behind it, even some 20s in Arkansas and Tennessee. If you're going to be out in Atlanta playing your golf round tomorrow, temperatures are going to be very chilly, getting up towards just about the 50-degree point for a high. And again, as for tomorrow, 50 degrees for that high in Atlanta, and that cooler air really starting to settle in, except for essentially just the Florida Peninsula here for us. So really a fantastic Saturdays for most of the southeast here, but that's going to be changing for us in Tallahassee a little bit as we go into the early portion of next week.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw in the 7-day forecast, but we have the 70 and 80% chance of rain Monday and Tuesday. So We're going to talk to you about why that is happening.
Yeah, so a Gulf low is expected to be developing on Monday in the western portion of the Gulf of Mexico, and with that, we're going to start to see this warm front lifting over our region a little bit as we work through the day on Monday, and from that point, conditions will start to deteriorate a little bit.
Yeah, we will be seeing rain here in Tallahassee. Most of the rain will be confined to the western parts of our counties. This is a forecast. Again, this is a couple days out, so we're not specific yet, but a general idea that we will see some rain on the western side. We'll see some rain here too with it.
Yeah, the highest concentrations of rain as of now are expected to be in parts of southeastern Alabama, so say areas like Dothan, up towards Troy and places like that. But again, we could start to see with the potential of training thunderstorms in these areas. Flooding could be a concern, potentially even flash flooding from, say, our area a little bit off to the west.
Yeah, even areas affected by Michael, rivers are still very high, as Kelly Godsey would say, but we do have a lot of rain, and more rain is not necessarily a good thing, even though our plants might need it. We've been in droughts in the past years around this time.
Exactly. We can't necessarily rule out the possibility of seeing some severe weather either. There's no current risk outlined by the Storm Prediction Center quite yet. The year is looking pretty good for that, but it's still a bit of an open question on that because timing is such a big deal, especially this time of year when it comes to those thunderstorms.
Definitely. We see that cold front come through, clear things out just for a little bit, and then unfortunately it comes back up and brings a little bit more rain. But right now we're going to send it over to the wall with Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Jake and Dylan. You can see we have much colder air across the northern tier of the country. Some of that Arctic air coming from Canada, 22 right now in Minneapolis, 22 in Kansas City. And then on the east side of all that cold air, we do have some snow up towards Michigan and Detroit. We're going to get into that in just a few minutes. But you can see that front starting to move through. Cooler air in Atlanta already, 59. If you want some warm weather, you have to go down towards Central and South Florida, where it's 80 degrees in Miami. In terms of your dew points, because we have so much cold air across the northern tier of the country and it's Arctic air, it also feels very dry up there. 12-degree dew point in Minneapolis and Kansas City. You only have to go down to Florida for the very humid and tropical air, 71 in Tallahassee, which is going to drop as we go into the overnight hours, and then 72 in Miami. Your winds also show you that front we've been talking about in the eastern two-thirds of the country and the southeast. Basically, it's moved through Atlanta, and it's basically moving through Tallahassee as we speak, and also moving through the 95 corridor and the major cities up towards the northeast corridor in Washington, D.C. Also, we have a lot of northerly winds in the Midwest because of a secondary cold front in Michigan, so that's what's causing the snow up there. You can see those two systems, the main cold front up down towards Tallahassee, and then a secondary cold front up towards the northern Appalachian Mountains. And these are going to move through in the overnight hours and then affect New England as we go into tomorrow. Let's zoom into the northern U.S. first, with some snow up towards the Great Lakes in Michigan. Also some pretty heavy snow out towards northern New York, like Syracuse and Albany, and then also some snow up towards Ottawa. Some pretty interesting pictures I saw there earlier. And going down towards, for our winter storm warnings, in pink up towards the Upper Peninsula, and then in purple we have a winter weather advisory. That's until tomorrow evening as the snow moves through northern Maine. Now down where it's a little bit warmer, you have rain in central New Jersey and in the central PA in the Adirondacks Mountains. And you can see it's a little bit heavy out towards southern New Jersey, and as a result, we do have some flood watches in effect until tomorrow morning and afternoon because the grounds are just a little bit saturated here and they can't take much more rain out towards New England. And then out towards Philadelphia in this light green, we do have a flood advisory until this evening. Going down to the southern U.S., this is the cold front moving through, much drier air behind it, with some thunderstorms flaring up in the Big Bend region. There's a little bit more instability down there, but this is going to move through as we go into the overnight hours and bring some much cooler temperatures as well as much drier air here in Tallahassee. Finally, we do have some snow due to a low pressure system developing in the Intermountain West, and that's going to be one part of the system that combines with the Gulf low going into next week that will bring us much cooler air going into the later part of next week. The next 24 hours shows you that cold front moving through the northern U.S., and you can see how you see the snow eventually moving up into northern New England, into the higher elevation. Could be some heavier snowfall there, but nothing too problematic for them. And then the cold front moving through central and south Florida, but dissipating as we go into the overnight hours. Let's fast forward to what we're expecting for the next 6 to 10 days. We're expecting much colder than average conditions across the eastern two-thirds of the nation. But for now, let's send it off to Dylan with a look at Detroit.
Thank you. Next, we're going to get to Detroit. It is cold there. It is cold and it is rainy. They're seeing a bit of snow. Honestly, it's very different than it is here in Tallahassee. We're seeing 60s, 70s, 80s. They're seeing 34 degrees in Pontiac, sorry. That is cold, and it's colder throughout much of the region as well. Going into their dew points, this is chapstick weather. We talk about chapstick weather here when we get to those 50s and 40-degree dew points. 29 in Howell and 30 in Ann Arbor. That's chapstick weather. They're seeing very dry conditions. That's due to the colder conditions there, making it feel much drier outside because you get these dew points that are your low temperatures about what you would see as your low, and they're seeing very dry conditions with those cooler temperatures. Winds dominantly out of the west right now, and that's due to this low pressure system that Michael has mentioned over north of Michigan, and that's driving these winds, very strong winds, a little bit at 14 and 13 miles per hour in Howell and Ann Arbor. Going into the satellite radar, you can see where the rain and snow mix. We're seeing a very areas, depending on where you are, you might see some rain. Depending on where you are as well, you might see some snow. You're seeing mixed conditions. It's warmer. Where it's warmer, you're going to start to see a little bit of rain, and where it's cooler, you're going to start to see a bit of snow. But it's throughout much of the radar, you're seeing different areas, seeing different precipitation. Zooming out just a bit, we're going to see that low pressure system move off into the northeast, and that's going to clear the conditions for the next couple of days there. Going into the next 24 hours, you see a bit of clearing in terms of precipitation into tonight. And sticking around through tonight, you might have a little bit of rain, but tomorrow morning is when you're going to see the cloud cover and the precipitation come back. See a bit of snow, see a bit of a mix, and see a bit of rain as well, just depending on where you are. And seeing those conditions start to clear out as we get into Saturday evening. And then into Sunday, you're going to start to see better conditions. Into tonight, temperatures cooling down very, very cold, 27 degrees. That's when I'm going to have to pull out 7 layers because I'm from Florida and I can't deal with 27 degrees, let alone 60 degrees here in Tallahassee. Going farther into the night, you're waking up to 26 degrees in Pontiac at 8 a.m. And then into the afternoon, you're warming up, but you're not really warming up much. You're only getting up to like 32, 34 degrees over in Pontiac and Detroit as well. So very, very cool throughout the day, tomorrow and today, very different than what we're seeing here. And they're going to see snow chances stick around into tonight and then into tomorrow as well. Clearer skies, but less snow chances, but still snow chances nonetheless, and still very, very cold. You're not really going to see the snow chances, though, when you're going to see those temperatures above freezing. Now let's send it over to Jake to talk about Florida.
Thanks, Dylan. We go from Michigan to a place that is much more warm and toasty, except for the northwestern portion of the state where Pensacola is sitting at 64 degrees. I'll step off to the side and show you the Florida Peninsula, which is acting, of course, like the Florida Peninsula. Temperatures staying around the 80-degree point for most of these areas. Pretty dry for a good chunk of the southern half of the state, however, as we're seeing more of this rain, of course, off in our area and areas now a little bit off to our east, even right along I-75 or so, with temperatures largely in the 70s, and that moisture sticking around for most of the, really the entirety of the state, except for the extreme western panhandle from Pensacola over towards, say, Okaloosa County is where this drier air is really starting to get itself going, with these dew points dropping into the 50s. That'll be the continuing trend, and you'll see this start to move eastward as we go on through the rest of the night tonight, again with that drier air settling into our region. And you really see it here with this wind. Pensacola out of the north at 22 miles per hour right about now. If you go just a 3-hour drive off to the east towards Tallahassee, it's a westerly wind. You go another 2 hours to the east of that, and we're talking about southwesterly winds out ahead of this front. So that divide is nice and clear in the Florida Panhandle alone. And again, further evidence of these cooler and drier conditions starting to work into those areas off to our west. And we'll start to see this try to get into the Florida Peninsula in the overnight hours tonight, although it's not going to quite make it all the way there, so sorry for the family and friends there down in South Florida. Not going to be getting quite as cool of weather as we're seeing here in town. As for the satellite and radar across the entire state, not really too much going on in the peninsula, with the exception of some showers lined up in north central Florida and a couple of light showers right along Alligator Alley and I-75 in southwestern Florida. We'll zoom into northwest Florida, which is where most of the action is going on. A line just made it through Tallahassee. Starting to see conditions improve there with some lingering showers along I-10 over towards the Walton, Okaloosa County areas, starting to try to creep in towards Panama City right about now. And we'll Check out what it's looking like for tonight. Again, the threat of some showers and storms lingers through the rest of the evening. Tallahassee, St. Mark's, even over towards, say, Apalachicola and Mariana, with temperatures starting to drop into the 40s in some of these locations off to the west where that front has already moved through and is starting to bring that cooler air in as we speak here, just before about 6:30 here in Tallahassee. As for north central Florida, we had some showers lining up along I-75 a little bit earlier, starting to move into some of the more inland regions right in between I-75 and 95 right about now, some of these less populated areas. As for tonight, temperatures dropping into the 60s and lower 70s for most of these areas, 71 down in Tampa. Clearer skies for many of these spots. We'll see those showers fizzle out in the next couple of hours or so. Even better is what it's looking like in South Florida. Just a couple of scattered showers over Alligator Alley, over the Everglades. Not really too much in the populated areas like Fort Myers, Naples, even over towards Broward and Dade counties. And as for tonight, temperatures lingering in the 70s for many of these spots. Jupiter nice and clear at 70 degrees. Sarasota hanging out with mostly clear skies, also at 70 degrees. As for the next 24 hours, we'll start to see those rain showers fizzling out a little bit and trying to move off to the east as that front continues to push towards the Florida Peninsula, not quite getting all the way through, however. We're going to wake up to mostly clear skies here in Tallahassee tomorrow, but as for the rest of the state here, north central Florida starting to clear out as we move through the day tomorrow, looking like a fantastic day out in Gainesville and Jacksonville. A little bit more cloud coverage from the I-4 corridor down towards the southern portion of the state with those shower and thunderstorm chances sticking around and those temperatures hanging out in even the middle 80s in some spots. Fort Myers at 86 degrees, as well as West Palm Beach at 86 as well. Going to send things back to the desk where Michael and Dylan are standing by.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. With those cooler temperatures coming in, it feels like fall, and we have a lot of events going on outside.
It's honestly a great day to go out and do stuff. Not summer events, though. Not getting in the pool, not getting in the rest.
But we have the fair in town. We went to opening night yesterday. It was very nice.
Very nice, and it was definitely decently crowded. It is open from the 8th to the 18th. The 8th was yesterday, 9th. But it is open. It opens at noon on the weekends and opens at 5 o'clock during the weekdays.
Yeah, and then it goes all the way until 11 p.m. So well into nighttime hours, you can enjoy all the fair activities and also all those rides.
Yeah, they're fun rides, fun food. Honestly, a great experience. What other events we got around town?
Yeah, so tomorrow, this is like a yearly, well, a weekly Saturday tradition here in Tallahassee. The Tallahassee Downtown Market, which is right in Park Avenue. It's it starts at 9 a.m. and it goes all the way to 2 p.m. Usually they have a lot of nice food locally in Tallahassee and also all those arts and crafts.
You might want to throw away your iced coffee and pull out the hot cocoa because you're going to need it tomorrow morning. You're not going to need those cool coffees. You're going to need a little bit of warmth if you're waking up at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and also on Saturday, if you want to head out to the ASLC Saturday evening at 7:30, we have the Christopher Robin with all the Disney characters, Pooh and I can't remember.
General
right
Kenobi is going to be in it as well. But great movie if you don't want to go outside. If you want to be inside and enjoy a nice movie, definitely an option on a Saturday night.
Yeah, we also have the Notre Dame game going on tomorrow. I didn't get to that earlier, but conditions are going to be very cold out there in the 20s. But we have a game viewing at the Civic Center tomorrow at 6:30 p.m.
Hey, if you want to come watch the game with your fellow Noles, that's definitely an outlet to do that. But right now, we're going to send it over to Jake to take a look at our last local. Okay, we're not. We're just going to sit here and talk. There's Jake.
All right, thanks, guys. How could you guys forget about Eeyore? Come on, that's one of the most iconic Disney characters of all time. When grad school gets me down, I can't help but identify as Eeyore from time to time, but I promise it's all good. Here's our time lapse from today as we work through a bit of a gloomy Friday out there, but I promise better moments are ahead for us. We're starting to see some peaks of sun trying to work into the picture here as we work towards our sunset. Just before 6 o'clock here in town. We're just about 6:30 now, and things are starting to get a little bit darker out there with some showers and storms lingering in our area. As for the current conditions, 71 degrees is what we're looking at right now. Some storms still lingering around the area, especially off to our east. However, conditions are starting to dry out a little bit for us here. Winds are still out of the southwest, so we haven't quite had that big frontal passage yet, but that is on the way, and it is on the way very soon here as we're already starting to see some cooler valleys off to our north and west, like Blakely down at 64 degrees, albeit a bit of a rain-cooled 64, but we're starting to see evidence even in these green shadings outside of our local area, as this is just going to be moving in further towards our area as we work in through the next, say, 6 to 12 hours or so around town. And you'll really start to see that with the dew points as as well. Again, Blakely down to 63 being the evidence in our immediate vicinity here of these values starting to drop over the next few hours. 71 in Tallahassee. It's been in the lower 70s, even some values as high as 76, which is something that we're more accustomed to in July around here earlier on in the week. But again, we'll start to see those drop as well. And as for that radar, we're starting to see those showers move off to the east, not really being too much of a factor for us over the next couple of hours or so. We could be looking at some lingering showers that are off to our west right about now, starting to move in towards the Panama City area and even over towards, say, Jackson County and the Mariana area, down towards Cypress as well, crossing the Apalachicola in the next 2 hours or so. And our national setup that leads to this low pressure system that's currently situated right here over the South Carolina-Georgia border just about now, and that front draped across the Gulf of Mexico, already starting to move through the Florida Panhandle. And that's what we saw with those Pensacola conditions earlier, with that wind was about 22 miles per hour northerly there. Quite a gusty night there in the western Florida Panhandle. As for the next 24 hours, again, possibility of some lingering showers overnight. Could see some rain here even as late as 11 o'clock, say midnight around here. But as we start our day tomorrow, the clouds really move out of the way, and we could not ask for a better one if, of course, you are a fan of the slightly cooler weather with those temperatures peaking out in the lower to mid 60s for much of the region. Not a cloud in the sky as we work into the evening tomorrow, really setting up for a fantastic Saturday afternoon and night. Again, albeit a bit on the chilly side, and those temperatures are going to be dropping as well here into the 40s in some of the spots off to our northwest, like Blakely at 46, heating back up into the 60s for pretty much the entirety of the region as we work through the day tomorrow here. So for tonight, looking at temperatures dropping to about 53 degrees, chance of rain sticking around before 10 p.m. to midnight or so. Tomorrow, 62, sunny and cool, fresh, crisp. We don't like commas here, but that's okay because this weather's going to be absolutely fantastic. Winds out of the north at 11 miles per hour. If you're going to be out in the links tomorrow, Michael, AJ, and I will be heading out to Summerbrook on the north side of town. Bit of a chilly one, but that is what I like. I've played golf in 34-degree weather, and I considered it one of the more fun rounds that I have ever played, which I know is a bit strange. But here we are with a 62-degree high for tomorrow is what we're going to be looking at in those conditions. Again, deteriorating a little bit on Monday and Tuesday, but behind that, our first real Arctic blast of the fall.
Well, I mean, we're not trying to point out 68 on Tuesday with that arrow pointing at it. We're trying to tell you the coldest temperature in the day is going to be in the afternoon, and the warmest temperature is going to be at night.
Yeah, so a pretty significant little frontal passage is what we're going to be getting that day. Pretty much in the morning hours is what we're really expecting. So we'll see, again, as Dylan was just saying, those temperatures peaking in the overnight to morning hours, dropping a little bit as we work into the peak of the afternoon. Something that's a little bit more common in the north.
Yeah, not here in Tallahassee, and mostly not for most of southern Florida. I've really never experienced that down in Miami. But you're from Chicago, and you told me you experienced it a lot.
Yeah, it actually might be happening right about now with all that snow they've been seeing in those regions, even like parts of Michigan, like you were talking about a little bit earlier. But there you go. We see a number that starts with a 3 there. We have not had that yet this fall.
No, that is crazy. We're not going to see the freezing temperatures, hopefully not this early. Wait a little bit. Maybe we'll get some snow this year. This is far-fetched nonetheless.
Could be seeing our first frost advisories of the fall.
Yeah.
You never know, coming up pretty soon, which of course is a pretty big deal when it comes to the agriculture around here. So in terms of that, we're obviously going to be hoping that it stays a little bit warmer than those 38 and 37 degree temps.
Yeah, no more fog too. We've seen fog advisories the last 2 mornings. Those are going to dissipate as the warmer temperatures and the moisture funnels its way out.
And don't worry, we're expecting temps to be just a little bit higher for that football game next week against Boston College.
Yeah, it's not going to be too bad. But if you want to follow us on social media, we're all over Twitter and Facebook.
All over the place, really, in the entire social media spectrum. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/FSU Weather. You may be watching us live right now on our YouTube channel. If you want to check out our old shows, youtube.com/FSU Weather/live.
And you also can follow us on Instagram where we post weather pics and see some behind-the-scenes pics as well if you want to look on there.
Yeah, we always encourage you guys to send us anything in on Twitter, Facebook, any of those social media platforms. We do not have a Snapchat, unfortunately. I've talked about this several times, but we haven't ever implemented it, but that's okay.
For all of us here at FSU Weather, I'm student meteorologist Dylan Leaf.
And I'm meteorologist Jay Carsons. No show Monday in observance of Veterans Day, so we'll see you Tuesday night.